Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin today with a simple idea. An idea that, if you let it, can rearrange everything about your future. You see, life doesn't change because you learn 100 strategies. Life changes because you finally understand a handful of principles. Just a few. And the right few. Over the years, I've discovered that if you want to transform the direction of your life, you don't need more noise, more complexity, or more confusion. What you really need are the right words. 3 of them. 3 words that sit quietly at the center of every great success story. 3 words that separate the people who grow from the people who merely hope. 3 words that take an ordinary life and make it extraordinary, not overnight, but over time. And here they are. Discipline, consistency, mindset. That's it. Nothing fancy. No secrets hidden in a vault. Just 3 simple words. But don't let their simplicity fool you. The greatest truths in life are never complicated. They don't need to be, because you and I don't fail from lack of information. Most of the time, we fail from lack of focus. We fail because we scatter our efforts, chase a dozen paths, and end up walking none. But just imagine what could happen if you centered your life around 3 powerful principles and lived them every day. Not once in a while, not when you felt inspired, but daily, steadily, silently. What would your relationships look like? Your career, your confidence, your finances, your future? You see, discipline is the beginning, consistency is the reinforcement, and mindset is the compass. Together they form a philosophy, and philosophy is where change truly begins. Because your results will always follow your philosophy. If you want to change your life, you first change the way you think about your life. If you want greater outcomes, you begin with greater beliefs and greater behaviors. That's the order. Now, maybe you've tried to change things before. Maybe you started with enthusiasm and ended with frustration. That's not because you're broken. It's because your approach was, when the foundation is wrong, the building never stands. When the philosophy is wrong, the results never last. But 3 words, the right 3 words, can give you the foundation you've been missing. So today, we're going to explore them. Not as theories, but as tools. Not as motivational slogans, but as daily habits. Because these words are not about hype, they are about structure. They are about giving you something you can build on. 1 day at a time. 1 decision at a time. 1 choice at a time. Remember this as we begin. Your life won't change in a moment, but a moment can start your change. And perhaps this is that moment. A moment where you choose a simpler path, a clearer path, a more powerful path, a path guided by discipline, consistency, and mindset. So let's begin. Let me tell you a little story, because sometimes a story can teach what a stack of textbooks never could. Years ago, a young man came to me after one of my seminars. You could see it in his eyes, that mixture of hope and frustration. He said, "Jim, I've tried everything. I've read the books, I've watched the videos, I've made the goals, but nothing really changes. What am I missing?" Now, that's quite a question, isn't it? And perhaps it's your question too. So I invited him to sit for a moment, and I said to him what I'll say to you today. You don't need more things to do, you need fewer things done well. Most people fail not because they lack effort, but because they drown in complexity. They start strong, but they start with too much. 10 goals, 12 habits, 17 new systems, and in a week, the weight collapses. Not because the person is weak, but because the strategy is heavy. You don't move mountains by piling more rocks on your back. You move mountains by choosing the right ones. So I told this young man a story, a simple one. There was once a craftsman who wanted to build a masterpiece. He had all the tools you could imagine, the finest wood, the sharpest blades, the strongest materials. But every morning, he would pick up a new tool, try a new technique, chase a new method. His days were full of activity, full of motion, full of noise. But months passed, and nothing was finished. Nothing was built. Nothing was mastered. One day, an older craftsman walked by and asked him, "Why haven't you finished anything?" The young craftsman replied, "I'm trying every method I can. And the old man smiled and said, "That's the problem. A masterpiece isn't created by trying everything. It's created by mastering a few things." That's the day the young craftsman changed his life. He put down the pile of tools and picked up just 3. And he decided, these 3 I will master. Within a year, he had created work that astonished everyone. Now, back to the young man sitting before me. I leaned in and said, "You don't need to feel overwhelmed. You don't need a dozen lessons. You just need 3 words to guide your days. 3 words you can practice, repeat, and strengthen until they become the pillars of your life." And I wrote them down. Discipline, consistency, mindset. He looked at the paper, quiet for a long moment, and finally said, "That's it?" I said, "That's it. Because life gets better when you start mastering the basics. Not the 100 things you could do, but the few things you must do. And maybe, just maybe, you've been carrying too much too. Maybe you've been starting and stopping because you've been trying to change your whole life at once instead of changing a few things every day. Maybe you've been living like that young craftsman, drowning in tools instead of sharpening the essentials. So this is your moment. The moment to simplify your philosophy. The moment to stop chasing everything and start focusing on the few things that matter. 3 words, 3 pillars, 3 foundations for the rest of your life. Now let's explore them, one by one. And we'll begin with the first and perhaps the most important discipline. Let's begin with the first word, discipline. And let me tell you, discipline is not a small word. Discipline is a builder. Discipline is a sculptor. Discipline is the quiet architect behind every great success story you've ever admired. You see, discipline is the decision you make long before the moment arrives. Discipline is the agreement you sign with your future self and the contract you keep with your present self. It's not dramatic. It's not glamorous. Most of the time, nobody claps, nobody notices, nobody celebrates. But discipline isn't about applause. It's about direction. It's about deciding who you want to be and then behaving like that person today, not someday, not when you feel ready, but today. Let me say something that might challenge you. You will never rise above the level of the disciplines you practice daily. Not above your talent, not above your potential, not above your intentions. You only rise as high as your disciplines allow. Now, discipline comes with a choice, and it's a choice every one of us faces every single day. I call it the choice between 2 discomforts. On one side, the discomfort of discipline, doing what's necessary, even when it's inconvenient. It weighs ounces. It's light, even if it feels heavy in the moment. And on the other side, the discomfort of regret, the weight of knowing you could have, you should have, but you didn't, and that one weighs tons. Ounces today or tons tomorrow. That is the choice. And remember, discipline is not about perfection. Discipline is about direction. It's about saying, this is the path I choose, and taking one honest step along that path every day. Even small steps count. In fact, the small steps matter the most because they're the ones you take consistently. Big steps are impressive, but small steps are sustainable. Let's talk about where discipline shows up most powerfully in your life. First, in your mornings. How you begin the day determines how the day unfolds. A disciplined morning is not about waking up early, it's about waking up with intention. 5 minutes of clarity in the morning can save you 5 hours of confusion in the afternoon. Discipline asks, what kind of day do I want? And then acts accordingly. Second, in your learning. Formal education may help you make a living, but self-education will help you build a life. Discipline says, today I learned something. Not everything, not an entire book, just something. A page, a sentence, an idea. You'd be amazed how far a daily idea can take you over a year. Third, in your energy. Your body is the engine of your ambition. Discipline recognizes that you cannot pour from an empty cup. A simple walk, a stretch, a glass of water, a moment of stillness, these are not small acts. They are self-respect in motion. Fourth, in your money. Discipline in finances is not about earning more, it's about managing well. $1 saved, $1 invested, $1 redirected toward your future can change the whole trajectory of your life. Wealth is rarely built from windfalls. It's built from disciplined decisions. Fifth, in your environment. Your surroundings shape you far more than you realize. Discipline asks, does this environment support my goals or sabotage them? You cannot grow what you constantly neglect. You cannot become who you want to be in a place that keeps you who you were. Let me give you something simple, a discipline test. Every night before you sleep, ask yourself 3 questions. What discipline did I practice today? What discipline did I avoid today? What did it cost me or reward me? You see, discipline always has a cost, but it also has a return. It's the only investment where the interest grows in both your character and your results. And here's the truth. Discipline is always the beginning of change. Nothing happens until discipline takes the wheel. Motivation might start the engine, but discipline keeps the car on the road. Discipline is the promise you keep when no one else is watching. And the day you learn to keep promises to yourself is the day your confidence begins to grow in a way no compliment, no achievement, no applause can ever replace. Now, discipline is the start, but discipline alone is not enough. Starting is important, but what comes next makes all the difference. To create real change, lasting change, you need the second word, consistency. Now let's turn to the second word, consistency. And if discipline is the spark that starts the engine, consistency is the fuel that keeps it running. Let me tell you something I've learned through years of watching people chase success. Almost everyone can start, but very few continue. Starting doesn't separate the achievers from the dreamers. Consistency does. Consistency is discipline repeated. Consistency is ordinary effort done extraordinarily well because it's done every day. And here's the magic. Consistency is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't brag. It doesn't need attention. But over time, it builds results so loud, so undeniable, so impressive, the world has no choice but to notice. Most people misunderstand consistency. They think consistency requires intensity. They think consistency means 2 hours a day, or a perfect routine, or flawless discipline. Not true. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is repetition. Consistency is showing up. It's not doing everything. It's doing something again and again. Let me give you a few reasons why people struggle with consistency. First, they rely on emotion instead of structure. If you're waiting to feel motivated before you act, you're surrendering your future to your moods. Motivation is a visitor, discipline is a resident, and consistency is the child of discipline. Second, they want speed instead of direction. Most people would rather sprint toward a goal for 3 days than walk steadily toward it for 30. But let me remind you, slow progress is still progress. A small step forward is better than a big idea never acted on. Third, they underestimate the power of small actions. A page a day seems small until you've read 30 books. 10 minutes of learning feels tiny until you're the expert in the room. A few dollars invested feel insignificant until compound interest multiplies them. Consistency is the great multiplier. It takes what is small and makes it significant. It takes effort and turns it into momentum. And momentum is what carries you through the days when discipline feels hard, when enthusiasm fades, when life gets messy. Momentum is the reward of consistency. Now, let me give you a simple model, what I call the consistency loop. A simple plan. Keep it small, keep it clear. A small action, something you can do even on your worst day. A repeated habit, a rhythm your life can support. A visible result, progress you can measure. A stronger identity. I am the kind of person who follows through. This loop feeds itself. The more you repeat, the more you believe. The more you believe, the more you repeat. That's the formula. And it works. Here's another principle worth remembering. Missing 1 day isn't failure. Missing 2 is a danger. The first miss is human. The second miss is a pattern. That's why consistency isn't about perfection. It's about protection. Protecting your progress. Protecting your identity. Protecting the habits you've worked so hard to build. There's a simple method I like to teach, the don't break the chain method. Every day you complete your small discipline, you draw an X on the calendar. Day after day, your chain grows. At first it looks small, then it looks impressive, then it becomes part of who you are. And your only job becomes, don't break the chain. Even if your action is small, even if your effort is imperfect, even if your day is chaotic, those days matter the most. Let me give you a final thought about consistency before we move on. Success is rarely the result of a single dramatic decision. Success is the result of thousands of quiet choices made every day without applause, without recognition, without fanfare. The world sees the outcome. You see the process, and the process is consistency. Now, we've covered two of the three words, discipline and consistency. But there is a third word, and it may be the most powerful of all, because if discipline is the engine and consistency is the fuel, then mindset is the driver. Mindset determines where you're going. Mindset determines what you believe is possible. Mindset determines how you interpret every setback, every success, every challenge. So now, let's move to the word that shapes everything else, mindset. Now we arrive at the third word, the master word, mindset. And let me tell you, mindset is the great interpreter of your life. It doesn't just influence what you do, it influences how you see what you do. It shapes your view of failure, of opportunity, of effort, of time. Mindset is the lens, the filter, the narrator inside your own head. And whoever controls the narrator controls the story. Mindset is powerful because mindset determines meaning. Two people can live the same day. One calls it a setback, the other calls it feedback. One sees a problem, the other sees a possibility. One sees a burden, the other sees a responsibility. Same day. Different mindset. And the difference makes all the difference. So let me give you a simple definition. Mindset is the story you tell yourself about your ability to grow. Now, there are two kinds of mindsets. I call them the limited mindset and the growth mindset. The limited mindset says, I can't. I'm not ready. This is just who I am. I'll start when the timing is right. But you and I both know the timing is never perfect. If you wait for perfect conditions, you'll wait forever. The limited mindset builds walls. It shrinks your world. It convinces you to settle, to stay, to stop. Then there's the growth mindset. And it sounds very different. I can learn. I can improve. I'm not ready yet, but I can begin. This is hard, and that's why it matters. The growth mindset expands your world. It opens doors instead of closing them. It teaches you to see challenge as training, not punishment. And that simple shift, that tiny shift in perspective can change the whole trajectory of your life. Let me tell you something important. Your mindset controls your reactions and your reactions control your outcomes. It's not what happens that shapes you. It's what you think about what happens. A rejection doesn't define you unless you decide it does. A failure doesn't end you unless you interpret it that way. A delay doesn't derail you unless your mindset turns patience into frustration. Mindset is the storyteller. And the storyteller can turn every obstacle into a lesson or every lesson into an excuse. Now, how do you change your mindset? Let me give you three ideas. First, replace reaction with reflection. Don't just react to life. Study it. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? When you reflect before reacting, your mindset becomes your guide instead of your enemy. Second, replace fear with curiosity. Fear says, what if I fail? Curiosity says, what might I learn? Fear shuts the door. Curiosity opens it a little wider. Third, replace doubt with preparation. You don't need confidence to start. You need clarity. Confidence comes after preparation. The more prepared you are, the less doubt you carry. Now, I want to introduce something. Jim Rohn emphasized often the idea of seasons. Because mindset is not just about the present moment. It's about recognizing what season of life you're in. Life has its winters cold, difficult, challenging. It has its springs full of new beginnings. It has its summers full of work, heat, and hustle. It has its autumns moments of harvest and reward. The key is this. Don't confuse the season you're in. Don't expect a harvest in the season of planting. Don't relax in the season of growth. Don't plant in the season of rest. And don't sleep through the season of opportunity. Mindset says, this is my season and I will respond accordingly. Because mindset is not just about positive thinking, it's about accurate thinking. It's about seeing clearly so you can act wisely. It's about understanding the rhythm of your life and working with it, not against it. So here's the great truth of mindset. Discipline and consistency can only take you as far as your mindset allows. If mindset is small, your future will be small. If mindset is fearful, your results will be hesitant. If mindset is limited, your world will shrink to fit those limits. But when mindset expands, everything else expands with it. Opportunities look different. Challenges feel different. Life itself becomes richer, deeper, more meaningful. That's the power of mindset. It's not the third word in the list, it's the word that gives life to the other two. Now that we have discipline, consistency, and mindset on the table, let's look at how they work together. Because each one is powerful on its own, but together they form something even stronger, a system, a triangle, a foundation for success. Let's explore that next. Now that we've taken a close look at each word on its own discipline, consistency, mindset, let's bring them together. And when we do, something remarkable happens. These three are not separate ideas living in separate rooms of your life. No, they work like a triangle, each side supporting the other, each one strengthening the others, each one incomplete without the rest. Let me tell you what I've learned. Discipline will get you started. Consistency will keep you going. Mindset will show you where you're going and why it matters. And when the three work together, a powerful transformation begins. Think of discipline first. Discipline is the spark. Discipline says, let's begin. But discipline by itself is not enough. How many people do you know who started something with enthusiasm, a new habit, a new dream, a new routine, and then abandoned it a week later? That's not a discipline problem. It's a consistency problem. Now think of consistency. Consistency takes what discipline begins and turns it into momentum. Consistency is the strength of repetition. But here's the catch. Consistency without mindset can become empty, even painful. You can be consistent in the wrong things. You can be consistent without direction. You can work hard and go nowhere. So now think of mindset. Mindset is the compass, the inner map, the perspective that tells you not only what to do, but why to do it, how to interpret what happens, asterisk, and where the road leads. Mindset gives meaning to your discipline and direction to your consistency. And here's the key lesson. If any one of the three is missing, the entire structure collapses. Let me show you. If you have discipline without consistency, you start many things but finish few. If you have consistency without mindset, you repeat effort without progress. If you have mindset without discipline, you dream beautifully, but you act rarely. But when the three connect, everything changes. Let me give you a simple visual. Picture a triangle with three sides. One side labeled discipline, that's your foundation, your start. One side labeled consistency, that's your reinforcement, your rhythm. One side labeled mindset, that's your compass, your direction. When these three sides form a triangle, you create a shape strong enough to support the weight of your goals, strong enough to handle the stress of challenge, strong enough to protect your ambition from collapse, strong enough to build a life you're proud of. Now, let's dig deeper. Let's imagine you want to improve a part of your life, your health, your finances, your career, your relationships, your personal growth. No matter the area, the process is the same. You begin with discipline. I will take this small action today, a workout, a journal entry, a book chapter, a budget review. Whatever it is, discipline takes the first step. Then you apply consistency. I will take this same action tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. Small, steady, repetitive effort. But the moment your old doubts return, and they will, that's where mindset steps in and whispers, this direction matters. Stay the course. This is who you're becoming. Mindset keeps your path meaningful. Consistency keeps your path alive. Discipline keeps your path moving. Let me give you a real example. Suppose someone wants to grow in their career. They say, I want to get better. Good, that's a start. So discipline says, read 10 pages today. Consistency says, read 10 pages every day for the next month. Mindset says, each page is a seed, and one day this seed will become your opportunity. Or let's say someone wants to improve their finances. Discipline says, save a little today. Consistency says, save a little every week. Mindset says, wealth grows slowly, but it grows surely. Or perhaps it's personal confidence. Discipline says, act even if you're nervous. Consistency says, show up again tomorrow. Mindset says, you are becoming stronger with each step. You see the pattern? The triangle works in every area because the triangle reflects the structure of growth itself. Let me give you a final thought before we move to the practical system. Most people are not missing potential, they're missing alignment. Their discipline points one way. Their consistency points another. Their mindset points nowhere at all. And when the three don't agree, life becomes exhausting. But when discipline, consistency, and mindset line up, when your actions, your habits, and your beliefs all move in the same direction, your results accelerate, your confidence rises. Your path becomes clearer. Your life transforms. Now that you understand how the three work together, let's talk about something even more practical, how you can live these three words every day in a simple, powerful system. A system you can begin tonight, continue tomorrow, and keep for the rest of your life. Let's explore that next. Now let's make this practical. Because a philosophy is only as powerful as the habits it produces. A great idea that never touches your daily life remains only an idea. But a great idea practiced daily becomes transformation. So let's talk about a system simple enough to do every day, powerful enough to change the trajectory of your life. I call it the three-word check-in method. It's not complicated. In fact, the strength of this system is in its simplicity. 3 words, 3 questions, 3 minutes in the morning, a few moments throughout the day, 10 minutes in the evening. That's all. But if you repeat this system every day for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it will start to reshape your identity, your habits, your confidence, and your results. Let's begin with the morning. A, morning routine, 3 questions in 3 minutes. In the morning, before the world reaches for you, before the messages and the noise and the responsibilities pull you away, take a quiet moment and ask yourself 3 questions. These questions set your direction for the day. 1. What discipline will I practice today? 1 discipline. Not 10, not 5, just 1. Discipline thrives on focus. Maybe it's reading 10 pages. Maybe it's taking a walk. Maybe it's making your bed, planning your day, sending an important message. Pick 1 discipline and commit to it. 2, what consistent action will I repeat today? Consistency requires rhythm. Ask yourself, what am I committed to repeating 1 more time today? It might be your study routine, your business outreach, your exercise habit. The goal is repetition. Small, steady, dependable repetition. 3, what mindset do I choose today? Mindset is a choice, a decision. Ask yourself, how will I think today? Will you adopt curiosity, courage, patience, focus, gratitude, growth? Your mindset sets the emotional tone of your day. It tells your brain how to interpret everything you encounter. 3 questions, 3 minutes. That's your morning check-in. B, daytime routine. Keep a mental scoreboard. Now, throughout the day, keep a simple mental scoreboard. This doesn't require a journal or an app, just awareness. Every few hours, ask, am I practicing the discipline I promised myself? Am I keeping the consistency I committed to? Am I choosing the mindset I declared this morning? This is where transformation happens, not in the morning, not in the evening, but in the middle of the day, when life is busy, when emotions shift, when distractions appear. That's when discipline becomes real. That's when consistency becomes identity. That's when mindset becomes character. Remember, success doesn't require constant effort. It requires constant awareness. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to remember who you decided to be. C, evening routine, 10 minutes of reflection. Now let's talk about your evening, the most important part of the system. Why? Because the evening is where learning happens. The evening is where the day becomes wisdom. Without reflection, your days blur together. With reflection, your days teach you. Take 10 quiet minutes and ask yourself, 1, what discipline did I practice today? Celebrate it. Acknowledge it. Reinforce it. Even small discipline strengthens your self-respect. 2, what consistent action did I repeat today? Was it your reading? Your movement? Your routine? Consistency is the glue that holds progress together. 3, what mindset did I strengthen today? Were you patient, brave, curious, determined? Your mindset forms the blueprint of your long-term future. Then write 1 sentence for each answer. Not a page, a sentence. A sentence a day for 30 days becomes a chapter of your growth. A sentence a day for a year becomes a book of your transformation. D, the 30-day challenge. Let me give you a simple challenge. Practice this system for 30 days. No exceptions. 30 mornings, 30 days of awareness, 30 evenings of reflection. Let me tell you what will happen. You will begin to trust yourself more. You'll feel more grounded, more intentional, more capable. You'll begin to see patterns where you rise, where you fall, where you drift, where you grow. And most importantly, you will realize something profound. Consistency isn't something you force, it becomes something you are. Discipline stops feeling like pressure, it begins feeling like identity. Mindset stops feeling like effort, it becomes your natural perspective. This 3-word check-in method is not a routine, it's a philosophy in motion. It's a design for your days. It's a structure for your growth. And like all great structures, it becomes stronger with each brick you lay. Now that we've laid out the system, let's talk about something exciting. What happens when you stay committed to this process for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Because consistency doesn't just create habits, it creates transformation. Let's explore that next. Now let's talk about transformation. Not the transformation you feel in the excitement of a single moment, but the transformation that builds quietly, patiently, almost invisibly over time. Because the real magic of discipline, consistency, and mindset is not what they do in a day, it's what they do over many days. Not what they do in a burst, but what they do in a season. There's a reason I like to talk in terms of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Those time frames reveal something important. They show you that progress is not linear. They show you that change has stages. And they show you that the person you become is far more important than the goal you achieve. Let's walk through each stage. After 30 days, you begin to trust yourself again. At the 30-day mark, something subtle begins to shift inside you. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's a quiet kind of confidence. The confidence that comes from keeping your word not to the world, but to yourself. For 30 days, you've practiced discipline, even in small ways. You've shown up consistently, even when it wasn't convenient. You've directed your mindset, even when old thoughts tried to pull you backward. And suddenly, you realize, I can depend on myself. That is the seed of transformation. That is where everything begins. Most people hesitate in life because they don't trust themselves. They don't trust their habits, their follow-through, their decisions. But after 30 days, your self-respect rises. Your clarity sharpens. Your identity starts to shift from someone trying to someone becoming. People don't see the change yet, but you feel it. And that feeling is fuel. After 60 days, momentum takes over. At around 60 days, the game changes. Discipline starts to feel less like a battle and more like a rhythm. Consistency stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a habit. Mindset stops feeling like an effort and starts feeling like your default state. This is the stage where momentum kicks in. And momentum is powerful because momentum carries you on the days you don't feel strong, the days you don't feel motivated, the days life gets heavy. Momentum says, you've come this far, don't stop now. And something else happens at 60 days. People start noticing. Your energy looks different. Your focus is sharper. Your attitude is calmer. Your habits are showing. You're not fully transformed yet, but the signs are visible. Your identity is beginning to align with your actions. You're not just doing discipline, you're becoming disciplined. You're not just practicing consistency, you're embodying consistency. You're not just choosing a mindset, you're developing a new worldview. At this stage, you're no longer pushing life forward, life is beginning to pull you forward. After 90 days, you become a different person. Now we reach the 90-day mark, and this is where the real transformation becomes undeniable. 90 days of discipline, 90 days of consistency, 90 days of mindset work. At this point, you're no longer just forming habits, your habits have begun forming you. This is where your identity catches up to your actions. This is where you look at your life and realize, I am no longer the same person. Your discipline feels natural. Your consistency feels normal. Your mindset feels strengthened. Your emotional reactions are calmer. Your decisions are clearer. Your self-respect is higher. Your results are visible. You don't just do the work, you are the work. You don't just try to improve, you expect improvement. You don't just hope for a better life, you're actively building one. And the most extraordinary part? This transformation didn't come from intensity. It didn't come from massive effort. It didn't come from overnight success. It came from 3 simple words: practice daily, discipline, consistency, mindset. One step at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. Let me tell you something important as we approach the end of this journey. Your future is not shaped by the things you occasionally do, but by the person you consistently become. And after 90 days, you have become someone new. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily, silently, unmistakably. The transformation is real. The identity shift is real. The future you're building is real. But before we close, we need one final step, a closing reflection, a reminder of everything we've learned, and a call to action for the days ahead. As we come to the close of our time together, let me leave you with a thought simple enough to write on a small card, yet powerful enough to guide an entire lifetime. Your future is not built in a moment, but a moment can begin the building of your future. Life does not change because we wish it to. Life does not change because we hope it will. Life changes because at some point we draw a line in the sand and say, this is who I choose to become. And the beautiful part is this: you don't need to change everything at once. You don't need to reinvent your life overnight. You don't need a new environment, a new job, or a new year. You just need 3 words. 3 words practiced daily. 3 words quietly lived. 3 words faithfully repeated. Discipline, consistency, mindset. Remember, discipline writes the script for your life. Consistency performs it day after day. And mindset directs it, giving it meaning, purpose, and vision. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to begin. And once you begin, you only need to continue. And once you continue, you only need to improve. That's the sequence. That's the rhythm. That's the way. Let me remind you of something important. Most people never achieve what they want because they never become who they must. They change their goals every week, but never change their habits. They change their desires every month, but never change their philosophy. They change their environment every year, but never change their mindset. But you have the tools. You have the roadmap. You have the 3 words. So tomorrow morning, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect day. Don't wait for life to calm down. Begin with the 3-word check-in. What discipline will I practice today? What consistent action will I repeat today? What mindset will I choose today? Do this tomorrow. Do it the next day. Do it for 30 days. Then 60. Then 90. And one day, you will wake up and realize without fanfare, without applause, without even noticing when it happened, that you have become a different person. A stronger person. A more capable person. A more focused, grounded, intentional person. And that person, the person you're becoming, will open doors you once thought were locked. Will build opportunities you once thought were out of reach. Will live a life you once only imagined. So choose today, choose the 3 words. Choose the future you deserve. Because remember, your future is shaped by the choices you make silently and revealed by the life you build confidently. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to grow. Now go do what very few ever do. Put these words into practice and let your results speak for you.